Hey guys, you are not prepared until you do this. Thanks for joining me on this episode of The Real World Prepper. If you like the content that you see, please click that subscribe button and the bell notifications, and you'll know every time we upload new content. Let's go. Alright guys, just waiting here for lunch at a local hamburger stand in my little town. Been here since the 50s, and they still do a fine job, so waiting on that, and I've got a little something to share with you. Prepping is all in your head. Well, not all in your head, but more so than you may think. There are still issues of having clean water, having food to eat, protection, so forth, but I've seen these maxims repeated many times in all my reading and YouTubing about preparedness. But survival isn't only about what you can carry in your backpack. It's what you carry up here in your head. Not to mention it's what you carry right here in your heart. Not to mention that the stuff you can carry in your head and in your heart tends to be a whole lot lighter than your 25-pound or more bug-out bag or 50-pound rucksack or whatever that you might be toting around. So, sorry, I had to pause. My cheeseburger's ready. I'm gonna eat that in a minute. It was actually the quickest service I've ever gotten here in all the years that I've been around. At any rate, survival is not solely about the supplies that you've accumulated, but it's also about the skills that you have learned. It often comes down to a mindset and determination that you will go on regardless of the obstacles that you're facing. Training your mind by learning and practicing new skills, developing new attitudes, new perspectives, they may get you through more tough times than a sack of rice or a can of beans. They will certainly increase those odds. Interestingly, the Bible teaches the same thing. In 1 Peter, the author of this short epistle is the same Peter who was one of Jesus' apostles and first disciples. He wrote this letter about 30 years after Jesus' resurrection to address a serious concern that had arisen in the Christian community. The Roman emperor at the time, Nero did not like Christians. He forced Christian men to become gladiators and fight to the death in the Colosseum. He had Christian women and children thrown to starving lions, mauled to death and eaten as a public spectacle for entertainment for the masses. When he hosted garden parties, Nero had Christians covered in hot tar, lashed to stakes, and set on fire while alive, to serve as torches on the patio for light for the guests. Nero did not like Christians. To him, Christian equaled enemy or criminal. Anything that went wrong, from litter in the streets to the burning of Rome, was blamed on Christians. Persecution of Christian believers was harsh. It was spreading. Peter wrote his first epistle to address this issue. So, how should a believer respond to these attacks? Well, Peter's first prescription for dealing with the coming persecution was essentially prepare your minds for action. He skips over stockpiling food, water, guns, ammo, and goes straight to mindset. Prepare your minds for action. The translation of this passage is found in the Old King James Bible. It's very picturesque. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind. Now, in biblical times, men wore long robes, and that was fine for walking around town or sitting or, for relaxed atmosphere for just everyday life. But when they needed to spring into action, those long robes could get in the way. So to gird up your loins meant to grab the excess fabric and tuck it into their waistband to shorten the robe, get it out of the way so their legs are ready to run and they're prepared for action to run into battle. So when 1 Peter 1:13 tells us, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, that means the same thing. Pull up the robe, tuck it in your waistband of your mind, and think in those terms. Peter tells us that the step towards surviving persecution is to prepare our minds for action. So, what mental preparations do we need to make? 1 Peter 1:13, be self-controlled. No further commentary or direction is given to this command. It is assumed to be self-explanatory. Our thoughts and our actions that spring from them are to be deliberate and planned. We should not be operating out of knee-jerk operations or reactions, but from predetermined resolve. You decide on the front end to have this resolve, and you pray for that. Also in 1 Peter 1:13, come to a final decision to place your hope on the grace which is going to be brought to you at the revealing of Jesus Christ. There's two issues here. The first is to stop straddling the fence when it comes to our faith in Jesus Christ. We cannot successfully gird up the loins of our mind if we're wishy-washy on this core tenet of faith. I bet it all on Jesus Christ as my Savior. I've gone all in, me personally. Hopefully you have too. I'm not counting on Jesus some of the time or hoping that Jesus plus something else is going to help me, but Jesus alone. When I meet St. Peter, when I go to heaven and I'm with Jesus and the saints, when I meet St. Peter at the pearly gates, when he asks me why I should be let into heaven, my answer will be because of what Jesus Christ did for me. The second point of the passage is that we're not supposed to place our hope in this world and in this life or in a man, but in the one to come when Christ returns. Persecution was coming to believers and was already well underway. People were losing their jobs because of being unwilling to renounce their Christian faith or to worship the emperor as a god by making a token sacrifice to him. Homes and properties were confiscated by the government. Families were being separated, and believers were being hauled off to prison for their faith. Sound familiar? The right mindset, that's the proper mindset in that set of circumstances, is not to place our hope in this world and this life, but in the life that's promised after Christ returns. 1 Peter 1:15, be holy in all that you do. Sorry for all the noise. I thought this would be a neat place to sit and do this. But anyway, 1 Peter 1:15, be holy in all that you do. The best definition of holy is different from or other than. The Holy Bible is different from all other books. God is holy because He is not like anything else or anyone else. We too as believers are supposed to be distinct from the world around us. We're not supposed to be just like everyone else. A key principle in prepper logic is OPSEC, operational security, or gray, being a gray man, to blend into the background and to not be noticed by the world. Now, there is a degree of wisdom there, without a doubt, and undoubtedly at a time when that's called for. There is a time when that's called for. But as a Christian, there still should be a distinct and different thing about you from the world around us regarding our beliefs, our attitudes, our thoughts, our actions. All these things come from your mindset. 1 Peter 1:22, love one another deeply. Love is a verb. Love is an action word. Love isn't a sentiment. It's a commitment. It's a purpose. It's a sacrifice. You offer and risk something of value to yourself to love one another or to love another. Love doesn't always pay off. Your act of love may be rejected. It may be misunderstood. It may be taken advantage of. But do not give up. Don't ever stop loving. Love one another deeply, profoundly, and lastingly. Period. Mindset is the key to survival. In 1941, during the devastating air raids of the Second World War, Winston Churchill addressed the student body of a school that he had attended. He shared these words, and I quote, "Never give in, never give in, never, 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 never. In nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force, never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy, These are not dark days, these are great days. The greatest days our country has ever lived, and we must all thank God that we have been allowed, each of us according to our stations, to play a part in making these days memorable in the history of our race. So that's about it, guys. Arm yourselves with the right mindset, prepare yourself for what may come, and you'll be miles ahead when it does arrive. Love one another, put Jesus first, prepare, 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 prepare your mind. Thanks, see you next time on The Real World Prepper.